So the iPhone 14 was just announced, and in this video I'm going to be talking about the things that they absolutely nailed it with and the things that they didn't do right. So first, let's begin with the base iPhone 14 models. So the first big news that they announced that they got rid of the iPhone 14 mini, and my reaction to it was like, I know quite a few people who like the small form factor of a phone, and I was personally a fan of it even though I never got to use it really. But my best guess of why they got rid of it is that either it didn't have much success in terms of profit, or they just wanted to make more profit by replacing it with the now iPhone 14 Plus, which is way bigger and starts at $899 compared to $699 where the iPhone 13 mini started at, which if they released the iPhone 14 it could have started at around there. So probably it's just a marketing strategy, and that's my best guess. So the iPhone 14 and the iPhone 14 Plus, what is exciting about them? Mainly three things. That is camera, battery, and a new feature in emergency SOS. So with this camera, the selfie camera now has autofocus, and the camera is now letting more light, especially for low light situations. They've also introduced a new feature called action mode, which does the work of a gimbal and stabilizes the video. If you are running or in your shaky situation, it will make the video look stable. And I was like, how are they going to do this? And when they showed us the footage of it, it did a pretty good job, and that's something really cool. They also made improvements to the flash module, and it is now 10% brighter. It also has a larger sensor, bigger aperture, and has a new photogenic image processor, which I'll speak about later in the video when I talk about the Pro models. So let's talk about the second thing, which was battery. And they specifically mentioned this with the iPhone 14 Plus, as it's going to have the best battery ever in an iPhone. Now, something to note is that if you go to the Apple website and you compare the iPhone 14 Plus and the iPhone 14 Pro, you can see clearly that the iPhone 14 Pro Max has more battery life than the iPhone 14 Plus. So I'm not sure what they meant with this. Probably it's a mistake, or we're going to have to see the reviewers do the battery test and see realistically what they meant by that. And now the third feature, which is in emergency. So if you're involved in a car accident, your iPhone will be able to detect, and if you're not in a position to take your phone and call for emergency, within the timer that it has set, I think 10 seconds, it will call emergency for you. And there's also a new way where you can send a message through the satellite in case you're in an emergency, especially if you're in a situation where you don't have Wi-Fi or a cellular connection. So what you do is that you'll be able to use your phone. It will help you direct to where the satellite is by moving your phone, and once the connection is established, you can call for emergency. And I think that was the main theme of the event, because they call it Far Out and they had this galaxy theme, and that's pretty crazy to think about, and I think it will help some people out, although this is only restricted to USA and Canada. And basically that's pretty much it about the base models, and that leaves us with the downsides of it. So to begin with, there hasn't been so much change within the design. If you take the iPhone 14 and the iPhone 13, both have the same camera layout and the design is still the same. They still have the notch, and there's no significant change in design apart from that new iPhone color, which is purple. And the other thing is that it still has the processor the same as last year, the A15 Bionic. And at the end of the video, I'll give my opinion on whether to upgrade, and if so, to which model. And now let's talk about what made the big headlines, the iPhone 14 Pro models. So to start with, in terms of performance, they feature a new A16 Bionic chip. Now in terms of performance, I'm really not sure if it will be that much faster than the A15 Bionic, because in the graph that they showed us, they compared it to the A13 Bionic, which was in the iPhone 11, and then to the 2022 competitor, and they said that it is 40% faster. I would have loved it if they showed us the comparison between the A15 Bionic or the A16 Bionic, or they just know that there isn't much of a difference and it's just a marketing strategy to make people buy. My voice just cracked. Or it's just a marketing strategy to make the people buy the new iPhone 14, yet there isn't that much of a difference. So we are going to have to wait for the reviewers to get their full test and benchmark scores to see how much really it is faster than the A15 Bionic. And after years of the iPhone having a 12 megapixel camera, they finally made an upgrade to it, introducing a 48 megapixel camera. And talking about the 48 megapixel, this is not something new. It has been there around the Android world. We have phones that have all the way up to 108 megapixels. And if there's something that Apple does, that they don't rush to be with the latest trends. Like, they have had the 12 megapixel camera for a very long time. And considering how the iPhone 13 could take really good pictures with the 12 megapixel camera, and I'm really curious to see how the 48 megapixel camera will do. So the processor has a photonic engine that I talked about about earlier, and they have some big claims for it. They say that it has 49% more performance in low light. All the cameras, including the front cameras, are 2 times better at capturing night photos, and I really wish that I can get to use it so that I can fully test this on this channel. And so talking about that 48 megapixel camera, all the photos will still be captured at 12 megapixel, and the 48 megapixel camera will be used in a place or a situation where there is so much bright light, and that's where the photo will be at 48 megapixel. But also when shooting pro raw footage, they will use the full 48 megapixel, which will allow for good editing opportunities. The flash module also has a new design where it will identify where the subject is or the focal length and adjust accordingly for better photos taken with the flash on. And for the cinematic mode that was introduced last year, you can now shoot at a full 4K at 30 FPS. And to the thing that finally excited me is that they finally got rid of the notch, and they have a new pill design where the camera is located. And instead of just making it a camera with a punch hole cutout, they have managed to make it a feature on a phone, which is really sick. According to the leaks, we just knew that it's just going to be a pill design, and nobody expected that they're going to introduce what they introduced, what they call the dynamic island. And so when they said it's going to be called the dynamic island, I was like, that is such a weird choice of name. But when they got to explain it, it now made sense. And it's really interesting. So this dynamic island can be used kind of like a notification center or a multitasking platform, or to show useful information while in other apps. So if you receive a phone call, this is where the notification will appear. If you connect your AirPods or you charge them, they'll appear there. You can have your timer there, you can play music, and when you hold on to it, you can access other settings such as pause, play. And it also has these new animations where it can expand, it can also split to another one, which is really sick. And apart from that, they have the Pro Motion, which was introduced last year, which could allow your phone go as low as 10 Hz while you're reading something, so that it cannot consume that much battery life. Now combined with the LTPO display, they have made it go as low as 1 Hz, and this has allowed them to introduce something that should have been there for a long time, and that is the always-on display. And as I said earlier, Apple aren't usually in a rush to keep up with the latest trends, and now with this always-on display, they have made it look unique, and it is really cool. So basically, the display won't go completely off, it will just dim the screen. The refresh rate will go all the way down to 1 Hz. If you have a wallpaper of a person, they will still maintain the tone colors, and now you can also see the time, you can see the notifications, you can see your wallpaper, which is really cool. And while all of this is happening, you won't still consume battery life. So my thoughts about upgrading, I think it's completely worth it to go from the iPhone 13 Pro to the other Pro models. But if you already have an iPhone 13 Pro, I don't think that it is worth it to go to the base model such as the iPhone 14 or the 14 Plus. But if you have an older iPhone such as an iPhone 11, I still think that if you're on a budget and you still want to go to the iPhone 13, I think it is really worth it. If you have the base 13 models, I think it is safe to go to the 14 base models. And overall, the Pro models took the day, and they introduced the new features, and I think those are the phones that they really worth it, because they still cost the same and the prices of the older iPhones have also gone down. So if you're looking for a laptop for around $450, click on the video on the screen and it will help you, and I'll see you there.